Hey guys, here's a trick I use quite a lot when I'm not feeling very inspired to make some music. And the trick is give yourself something inspiring to write on top of. So for example, if I want to do some simple piano pop chords, rather than me just making a track with a piano and trying to write on it, it feels really uninspiring when you've got nothing on Logic and you're trying to make some music. So if I'm just playing piano here, let's say I use these chords. What we want to do is we want to put down a bed of something that's not suggesting what the chords are. So something, maybe some ambience. So let's go to synths and then we'll go to synth pads. Let's pick anything. And I'm going to play C and G. So I'm playing C and G, the root in the fifth. And if I record this in, now it still doesn't sound very inspiring, but I'm going to add some reverb to this. Okay, I'm going to slow the tempo down. Cool, and I'm going to add something else. So I'll add another track. And again, I want to do something that's not suggesting the chords, but it's just giving me something to write on top of. So I'll pick another synth. And let's do another pad. I don't know what these sound like, but I'll just pick anything. Okay, cool. And again, I'm going to add reverb. I love Black Hole for this. It's got such a huge sound. I'll put the mix right up, and I'm just going to record in the note C. Cool. Quantize that. Now I can add my piano, and I can play any chords in the key of C major. And it just gives me some emotion on top of it when I'm changing chords, which chords I'm going to pick. So let's open up a piano. I love the Chroma piano from Contact. And I'm going to take out the top end of the piano actually, because I want it to sound quite dark. So let's have a listen to it as normal. And I'll just hit this one here and just roll off the top end. Let's try in another style now. Let's try something maybe in the style of Dua Lipa. Let's start with drums for this one. But again, we're going to just get the functional things we know we're going to need in the song before we think of any chords, before we think of how the song's going to sound. And we'll just get stuff ticking so we can write on top of that. So we'll start with a drum beat. Let's open up Splice. I'm going to find a bass drum. I want something that's maybe not too electronic, something that's got a bit of a live feel to it. It's quite cool. Add this one, and remember how to do this from Splice. Once we've purchased the sample, if you just click and drag underneath in Logic and then set it to Quick Sample Original, and from there I normally set it to one shot. And the difference between one shot and Classic is if you play the note and stop, it will stop halfway through the sample on Classic, but if you do one shot, it will play the full sample. So let's add our bass drum pattern. Cool, and let's find a snare in Splice. Again, I'm going to look for something a bit live. What we're going to do is we're going to put in some simple sounds that have a bit of power, and then we're going to put a loop on top of it, which is live. So let's find a good snare sound. Cool, Oliver Snare Disco it is. Again, drag it underneath, Quick Sampler Original. I'm going to set it to one shot, and then I'm going to just put it on the snare hits every second time. Now I want to find a drum loop to go on top of that to make it feel a bit more live. So I'll open up Splice Bridge. And what Splice Bridge does is once we open it up in Logic, if I head back to Splice, it will basically play all the samples on time with the project, which is great. So let's do disco beat. So let's just play the track in the background. And I'll go to drums. and let's have a listen. Because we've got Splice Bridge open, if we come down here to drag in the loop, it's going to drag the modified sample, so basically the one that's on time with our project. So let's click and drag that in, and let's have a listen to them together. Sounding good. So what I might do is quantize this just so they're perfectly on time with each other. So I'll go up to flex pitch, polyphonic, and then I'm going to set it to eighth notes. Cool, so we've got our drum beat. This is quite handy also. If you name your tracks, and you can see here that the regions aren't named, if you scroll over them and control click and then do name regions by track, and it makes your projects look so much more organized. So let's add some top elements now. So we've got our drum beat. Let's do something that's still not suggesting the chords. So I'm going to grab my guitar. I love this Chori One plugin. I'll use this quite a lot. So again, I'm just going to put in parts that are not suggesting the chords yet. So just some top parts. So maybe if I'm doing it in the key of E minor, I'm just going to use E minor pentatonic on my guitar. And I'm just going to do little licks from E minor pentatonic. Let's do the first lick. So let's call it guitar 1. Okay, let's quantize this really quick. So 16th notes. And I'm going to duplicate that track, and then I'm going to do some more picking on the other side. So pan the first one to the left, pan this one to the right. Cool, and then let's add one more, something a bit more funky. Again, I'm doing E minor here, but I'm not suggesting the chords. So for example, I'm playing the top 3 strings, which means that the chord could be E minor, could be C, could be B, could be A, could be G, could be F sharp. So I'm just going to do something funky on the top, and then I can still pick the chords later. So I want my guitars to sound a bit more funky, so I'm going to take out the low end of this one here, especially because I'm playing slightly lower notes. And it's getting a bit in the way already of what I can imagine the chords are going to be. So this guitar in particular, I'm going to take out the low end. And something that's quite common in Dua Lipa songs is like the big string hit. So again, I don't want to suggest the chords yet. I just want to find some string lines on Splice that are going to work with it. Okay, so I've searched for string. I'm going to set my key to E. And I want to make sure that it only plays minors. So if I go to key and then hit minor. Now let's have a listen to some. Let's try string hits. Okay, that sounded good to me. Let's add that hit. And I'm not sure we need it to be on time here if we just want one hit. So I'm going to turn off Splice Bridge down here and have a listen to a few more. Cool. Okay, so we've got a few hits here, sounding good. I'm going to add a bit of reverb to this bottom hit. And reverb to this one. Okay, now I'm going to grab my bass, and it's time for us to get some chords on here. Cool, I've got my bass. So we're in the key of E minor. So if I just pedal the low E, it could just stay on E for the whole song right now because I've not actually suggested any chords. my bass and suggesting other chords. That sounds pretty cool. I'm going to record that in. And let's quantize this bass. So I'm going to turn on polyphonic. Okay. It's got that hit a bit too quick. Same again. Boom, bum, ba-dum, bum, I think is what I played. Boom, bum, ba-dum, bum. Okay, so with when I'm quantizing things, I try and take away the parts that I don't really need. So for example, you can see it's quantizing the end of the note there. Then let's have a listen to that with the track. And now let's double up the bass with the synth. So I'll make a new track. I like to use Serum as my go-to synth because I know it quite well. And it doesn't matter about the sound right now, I just want to get the same notes that what I've played on the bass. So we've got E, Ch, D, E. I'm going to move it down an octave because that's boom, 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 A, B, C. Ba-dum. So maybe not put in the ba-dum, or maybe we could try. So ba-dum, A, B. So maybe a really short A here. Hammering into the next note, and we'll drag that a bit longer. Boom, boom, bum, boom, bum, ba-dum, bum, boom. Okay, so we've got our notes in, and let's find a cool sound. Okay, sorry, that took me ages. I've gone with this kind of slap bassy preset. Let's have a listen to it by itself. I'm going to put a bit of compression on this bass actually, just so it doesn't get lost with the synth bass. So let's go down to compressors, dynamics, compressors. I think we'll try like a LA2A style on this. Okay, let's listen to it together. Let's turn everything down a bit and just chuck on Logic's mastering to see how it sounds. Guys, I hope you found that helpful. I'd love it if you could subscribe and like and whatever, and I can keep making more of these videos. Thank you so much. See you in the next one.